Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Desmos, and you're welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new on this channel, I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-development. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. I remember doing a video back in the days, and I said the narcissist is spiritually unplugged. In that video, I said the narcissist that you're seeing in front of you is the body. This is the vessel. Because you guys, what you need to understand is that these entities, they need a vessel to operate, because they cannot operate without a vessel. They can operate through other circumstances and situations. For example, they can operate using the media, using the things you see around you and this thing like that, to try to actually go into your brain, enter your brain. But normally, the main vessel of these entities is the narcissist. So the narcissist is being used as a vessel. You know what I mean? So because of that, their souls have been corrupted for a very long period of time, long time ago, because they have chosen a different path in life. And that path has led them into that path has been a very, very dark path, and it has led them into situations whereby they are now going around destroying a lot of victims around the world. So on the physical plane, the narcissist knows what they are doing. Like you guys have already been saying, and every now and then in my videos, they know what they are doing. They will do it, and then they'll do it again, then they do it again. So it's like a cycle, you know what I mean? But on a very spiritual level, in that video, I mentioned that the narcissist is spiritually unplugged because they're actually cut off from their higher self. So they are not connected with their soul, because there's no soul in there. This is just a body, it's a vessel. But inside of them, there's no soul. You know what I mean? Their soul has either been corrupted or they have simply been taken over by these entities. So they are not in charge of whatever they are doing. However much they would think they know what they are doing, because they are doing it to hurt other people because of their own benefits, for their own energy and fuel. But they do not know on the spiritual level what they are doing, because they are not in charge of these entities and of their actions. But there will come a time when the narcissist is going to awaken. And I've experienced this so many times. I experienced this when I encountered the greater narcissist. So the greater narcissist was the awakened narcissist. Because I remember in the early days of the encounter, we used to talk about narcissism, you know, because I discovered narcissism in those, I think it was like 3-4 months after awakening. So I had discovered narcissism. So sometimes we were talking about this thing. I was like, oh, there was this person, this. So we're talking about the narcissist that I'd gotten involved with. And I recognized that this greater narcissist was actually very, very much aware about all this narcissism. And, you know, sometimes she was even telling me a lot of things that I hadn't even myself already discovered, you know what I mean? Because I was in the early days of my working process. Now, what you guys need to understand is that the empath will awaken, but the narcissist will also awaken. And this is where I want you guys to listen very closely. The narcissist awakens to the fact that they are narcissists. The empath awakens to the fact that they are actually empaths. So they awaken to the reality of who they are. On the other hand, also the narcissists awaken to the truth of who they are. You know what I mean? But the difference is the empath can awaken to the fact that they have been under abuse. Yes, they are empaths and this and this, and they start to add up all these puzzles along their journey that have been happening in their life. And they'll start to add up all the pieces. They will gather themselves, put themselves together, start healing, and start to ascend to higher consciousness. But the narcissist cannot ascend to higher consciousness. And I've experienced this firsthand with the greater narcissist. So the greater narcissist knew who I was, like I've told you guys. The greater narcissist knew who I was. And I'm bringing in this greater narcissist to give you guys a whole idea of actually what is happening when the narcissist actually awakens. So the greater narcissist was actually consciously, we're talking about consciously, she knew who I was in the first place, and she knew what I was capable of. So she was actually consciously using me for our own energy. You know what I mean? So she was actually consciously doing conscious things, using me to tap into my energy. You know what I mean? So I also discovered that the greater narcissist was after my soul. There's so many things that they used to do, because this was a person who was into rituals. Sometimes they would do this kind of rituals, sometimes, during meditation or things like that. Sometimes maybe when we used to go to sleep and the things like that. The way we used to engage with the greater narcissist, I knew that this person was after my soul. You know what I mean? Now, when the narcissist awakens, it is going to be a very big shock, according to my experience. If you guys have got your own perspective, you can always let us know in the comment section below what you have seen and what has been your experience. But I know that a lot of people, not many of you have actually met awakened narcissists. So a lot of times when the narcissist awakens, they are going to go into denial. You know what I mean? As much as we awaken and we notice, okay, so we have been under abuse, you start to understand that you have always been a victim in your family, in your relationships, in your friendships. The narcissist also awakens at that point, and they realize actually they have been the problem all this time. And most of the times it is very, very difficult for them to swallow. It's a very, very hard pill to swallow. So I used to see this greater narcissist when she was always fighting with herself. You know what I mean? You would see she would do these things, because I saw a lot of these red flags, I saw a lot of these red flags when you're talking about gaslighting, when you're talking about word salad, when you're talking about blame shifting, when you're talking about silent treatment. I saw all of this. This is the first time in my entire life I saw a full-blown narcissist actually doing things that actually my eyes were wide open and I would see everything play out. This was like a movie. You know what I mean? And I noticed also one thing, that the greater narcissist was actually trying to live in denial, because she had actually found out that she was a narcissist because of her previous relationship, because there was a discard that had happened after that, before that. But then in this moment, she was trying to hide in that image of being an empath, because when she noticed that I was an empath, the very first thing what she did, the greater narcissist started to mirror my energy. You know what I mean? So she started to mirror my empathy. But there is something with empaths. You cannot mirror. Yes, you can mirror an empath for a few days, maybe, or for a few weeks. You can mirror their energy a little bit, because you can see what they are doing, how they think, how they reason, how they move, how they empathize with other people. Sometimes you will see this. But I noticed also with the greater narcissist that it was very, very difficult for the greater narcissist to actually bring out that full empath image, that actually this person is an empath. Because after an act of empathy, the greater narcissist would actually turn 180 degrees, and actually she would go back into those cycles of abuse, and I would start to see these other red flags actually showing up. So these were two or three people I would see in one body. You know what I mean? Not only about the way she thought or the things that she did, but even in her own physical appearance. So I had the person who was appearing in different images each and every single day. Every single day I would see a different image. Another day I would see a different image. In the morning I see a different image. In the night I see a different image. So these were so many masks which were sleeping in the same time. You know what I mean? So sometimes they would come that mask. There would be that mask of an empath. Oh, very nice. And you'll see this kind person trying to empathize with me and this and the situation around in that moment. And then she would turn actually 180 degrees and completely go full-blown narcissist. And these were the times when actually the greater narcissist started exposing herself. You know what I mean? So I saw this thing play out firsthand. It didn't take me a while, because I would figure out that, okay, so this person was actually in reality a narcissist who was trying to mirror my energy, so that actually I would believe this person was an empath, so that actually this entanglement would carry on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? But I'd already seen the flags, and I was out of there in no time. So one of the things that I realized with this greater narcissist, especially because the greater narcissists, they are the ones who I've told you guys, the greater narcissists, they are the ones who have awakened to that fact that they are narcissists. You know what I mean? Not necessarily the mid-range, because the mid-range, they are in between. Getting awareness of being a narcissist, and also, so they are between knowing that they're narcissists, and the other side that actually they are an empath or something like that. So they are standing in the middle. One foot is that way, one foot is that way. You know what I mean? But the greater narcissist will come to that full realization and awakening that, yes, okay, so they are narcissists. So that's why sometimes you will see that a lot of the greater narcissists, most of the times when they awaken, you may sometimes see them actually, a lot of them few of them, I don't know how many of them out there, but few of them, they may sometimes try to go out there and see if they can seek therapy, because a lot of times when the narcissist awakens, this thing brings them into a shock. So they do not know, first of all, how did they end up in that position? Because you see, this thing is almost irreversible, because now they're in a state whereby they're accepting that they are narcissists, and they're figuring out in their head, what are they going to do next, and how are they going to move forward? You know what I mean? So some of them, you will see them, they will sometimes try to attend therapy. They may decide to go for therapy. And most of the time they are doing it secretly because nobody is supposed to know. You know, sometimes they may even sometimes be in relationships and they're secretly attending therapy or something like that because they have finally realized that actually they have dug their own grave and they have actually chosen a path, a very dark path, and they're realizing that this path actually is a no return. So this is like a one-way ticket to destruction. And they already know, because a greater narcissist knows that at some point in time they are going to self-destruct. They already know this. The other narcissists, the what do they call them? The ordinary narcissists and the mid-range, they may not really know the effects of whatever it is they are doing and the aftermath. But the greater narcissist is aware that whatever they are doing is going to end up in destruction. So they know that at the end of the day, there's people they are going to destroy. You see, they have been doing these things before, but they couldn't actually understand the effects. They couldn't really actually put that whole thing together in their head that they have actually been destroying people. Because remember, these people live in denial all their life. So from victim to victim, they're running from one victim to another and pretending that that victim that they've left behind, whoever, maybe that person had killed themselves, or they ended up, they were rendered homeless, or they ended up in a hospital or things like that. So they usually run away from that problem. And normally when you meet them, they are going to try to paint a picture that there was a problem with that person. They were not the problem. So they have always been running from this problem. So they have been always living in denial. But a greater narcissist will actually understand and come to that realization, and they are going to always look back within their victims, and they are going to realize that they have over the years caused a lot of destruction to so many people behind the line. So those people, they will awaken normally, and that thing is going to take them by surprise. So it is good. They are going to go in shock. Actually, most of the time they are going to go in shock. So I saw the greater narcissist struggling and fidgeting so many times. Sometimes we would wake up in the morning, you know, you would see this person trying to figure out how they can be nice, you know, how can they do this? How can they mirror this energy, which would make me believe that they're actually good people, but on the inside, they knew they were very, very bad and very dangerous people. You know what I mean? And an awakened narcissist is very dangerous as well, because an awakened narcissist, first of all, these people, they know who they are. You know what I mean? So they know each and every single detail of who a narcissist is. So when they want to go into full-blown manipulation and destruction, they are going to do that technically. So they are going to maneuver their way into your head, and they are going to actually destroy you to a magnitude you've never seen before. You know what I mean? Unlike the other narcissists who may sometimes, you know, maybe these are like the lesser narcissists who are actually playing around with life and, you know, trying to do this and trying to do that, and they don't really know where they belong. They are doing these patterns. Yes, of course, they are doing these things, but they're not really like upgraded like the way the greater narcissist or the ultra narcissist is. You know what I mean in that sense. So most of the times you will see these narcissists, they will torture you. They will make you believe it is the last day on earth. Every single day you wake up in the morning thinking that it is your last day on earth, because those individuals, they are known, they are aware, fully aware. They are fully aware of who they are. That is number one. And they have actually mastered that game of narcissists. But some of them, like I've been saying, they try to seek some sort of help. You know, I've seen some of them coming out online recently. They have been, you know, maybe going to therapy, trying to get some help, and because the greater narcissists will realize, the first thing what they realize the moment they awaken, they are going to realize that they have dug a very big hole, and they are falling into that hole themselves, and they do not know how to get out of that hole. So that's why sometimes you see them, they're fidgeting around with life. You know what I mean? Because they know you see, a lot of times you guys get it twisted and get it confused. You see them sometimes online, they are coming around and telling you about personality disorders. The greater narcissists and the ultra narcissists, they know the reason behind their so-called personality disorder. They know they know the spiritual part of this thing. They know exactly what is happening spiritually. It's just because so many people around the world, they are not aware and they're not informed about this. They do not know what is happening. It is only the super empath we know. It is the same thing, the same way the greater narcissists know this whole thing is spiritual. So, but it's just because it is the easiest way for them to come around and explain to you all these narcissism dynamics and everything. That's what they do, this is what they do, this and that. So sometimes you see them online trying to teach you, but subconsciously, inside of their head, they know this whole thing is spiritual and it has got nothing to do with the personality disorder, you know what I mean? So this whole thing is a demonic attachment, and they're aware of that. So you can imagine, I can give you another clear example. I remember many days, those days I started my channel, back in the days, I started sharing my journey, my story, bit by bit, you know. So for you guys who have been with me, you know where this whole thing came from and where we started. So I started sharing my journey in those days. And what I didn't know, because me personally, in the beginning of my videos, I did not even know that I was a super empath. I didn't even have any idea about this. Me, I was just trying to say what I was feeling in that time, what I had experienced. I was just trying to be authentic and be as organic as I can. But you see, the thing is, the more organic you are, or the more real you are, and the more authentic you are, unconsciously, you're actually waking up people without you actually knowing it. You know what I mean? So I've encountered so many of these narcissists. They sometimes used to come on my channel back in the days. You know, they used to come in my channel and you would sometimes think that, oh, you know, they are part of your family, this and this. So I didn't know that actually these people, they were also narcissists and they were actually the problem. So somehow, I think the universe is also guiding them towards our videos so that we can actually trigger them to wake up, because sometimes they're destroying people and they do not know that actually they're the problem. Most of the time, they don't know they're the problem. So sometimes you'll see them coming around and talking about all this empathy thing and this, the victims, or they have been the victim, because, you know, these guys, they're funny. They always like to be the victim. Whenever there's a problem, they want to come around and portray that image that they are the victim. But most of the times I've seen them on my channel. In the early days, I've not seen them a lot these days. They could be there watching these videos or things like that behind the scenes, which is actually going to be a next video. I'm going to make another video about this. But they used to come around and try to bring out that image, you know, to make other people believe that actually they were the victim or this and this. But sometimes you would see, because me, I've always had actually this thing of discernment. I would sometimes when you're reading these messages and these emails or things like that, you would see where a person is coming from, and you would see an element of a lot of toxicity within them. So sometimes they would even expose themselves. I remember most of the times in those early days, I used to watch a lot of these comments and I would just delete them, because I would just know that this person, they are just trying to hide in an image of an empath, because they believe that it's a good thing to be an empath, which it is a good thing to be an empath, because you have got the ability to empathize with other people. But these were people that they were watching sometimes this content and my videos, and actually they were getting awakened without even me trying, you know what I mean? Because I was just trying to be authentic. So they used to come around and watch these videos, and most of the times I think it is when that trigger came in, and I even sometimes awakened a lot of them. So most of the times when they figured out that actually maybe this guy, he feels something or he knows something, so that's when they used to vanish. They would make a comment, and sometimes I wouldn't react to the comment. I would see it, but I wouldn't react. But energetically, they will know that actually they are trying to sell a lie. You know what I mean? They are trying to sell a lie to the media, to the masses. And I would delete these comments. So most of the times you will see them, they will vanish. They would come around, they will vanish. I used to see pockets of them in the early days. Not many of them, because on my channel, I've usually had a lot of empaths on my channel. But they were also narcissists who used to come around. And I think in one way or the other, when they landed on these videos, they used to get awakened at some degree. And I would see this in the comments, the way they used to react and those kind of things. And they would sometimes come around as empaths. You know what I mean? So there are some people who awaken to narcissism, and then the first thing they'll realize that actually they are narcissists, and probably the people they were dealing with are the empaths. So because of that shame, there is that shame and that guilt of feeling that, okay, so they have been the problem, and they don't want anybody to find out this. They are narcissists, or they don't want anybody to know who they are, especially the people around them. They are victims, first of all, and the people who actually are in their circles. So sometimes they will run very quickly and what do they call it? And camouflage in that image of being an empath. So sometimes they are going to identify themselves as empaths. But we as empaths, we know. And most of the times you'll even sometimes see them online. They will come around and start making narcissistic videos. I remember I used to watch a lot of them back in the days. I used to watch so many of those narcissistic videos. And I would see that this person, yes, they talk about narcissism. Okay, they have been with the narcissist. They say they have been with the narcissist. But as you start to dissect their messages and those videos, you actually see that element of a very, very full-blown narcissist who doesn't even know who they are. You know what I mean? And they will come around sometime and helping people. Oh, they're helping people. They are talking about narcissism and this, narcissism that, and sometimes they're actually camouflaging and hiding behind that image that they're actually the problem. They were the victims. They were the empath. But most of the times they are usually going to realize, and people will see, a lot of people who have the discernment, a few people have the discernment, because when you see these guys sometimes coming out online and telling you a lot of things about narcissism, sometimes you will see, you will know, your discernment will tell, your intuition will tell you that these individuals, they are the problem. They have most likely left so many victims behind and they are trying to run away from shame. So those individuals who are coming out, you see them online sometimes and they actually appear to be narcissists. Those people, they are just hiding behind that image that they are the victim, but those people are actually the problem. So they were never the victim in the first place. They have already abused people and run off to the next one. You know what I mean? So they are now trying to come out and camouflage in that image that they are the victim. The husband did this and the husband did that. The wife did this and the wife did that. But they are actually the problem. They are the narcissists themselves. And a lot of times, many people around the universe, around this planet, they are not aware. They are not aware of this. So sometimes you will see them everywhere. Even sometimes you may meet them physically. They are going to mirror your energy. Let me tell you something. There is nobody who will mirror your energy like a greater narcissist. They have already mastered this thing of empathy. They know who an empath is. They know what you're capable of. They know how you move. So they are going to mirror your energy in a way you've never seen before. And most of the time it's going to get very, very confusing. Where the discernment is going to come in is that you are first of all going to realize there are some missing links in that person. You will see sometimes these things showing up and there, a little bits of them. They'll be exposing themselves here and there, but sometimes you might even see, you might miss these red flags because you remember these are greater narcissists. So they know how to cover the face and then remove the face. Then they cover so they know how to put this mask. You will see the person you want to see. Then they'll remove it very quickly, show you who they are, then they'll put back this mask. So sometimes you will get this confusion whereby you actually be wondering who exactly is this person. But there will always come a time when they are going to fully expose themselves, because for an awakened individual, let me tell you something. I've told you guys many times in my videos, the awakened empath is a very dangerous person because that person has done a lot of study. They have educated themselves. They know who they are. They have gone into research. They have actually studied what exactly is going on behind the veil. So a person who has already been behind the veil, they have already seen what is in the rabbit hole. They have seen what is behind the veil. It is almost impossible for you to come around and think that you can actually fool these individuals. You know what I mean? So that is how I caught up with the greater narcissist. But it is important to know that we are two people on the other side of the spectrum. We are the empaths. There are also those narcissists who actually get an awakening. Their awakening is different from ours because their awakening does not allow them to ascend. So when a person awakens that they are narcissist, for example, when they get an awakening, which I've actually seen in my own family, there are some family members have awakened to the fact that they're narcissists because I've mirrored back their energy, because you guys already know that the super empaths will mirror back their energy most of the times. So I've mirrored back their energy and a lot of friends and, sometimes ex-lovers and things like that. And I've actually awakened because you see, when you mirror back that energy to a narcissist, you are going to show them who they are. You know what I mean? Without actually you trying. You are going to actually show them and display to them the rate of who they are without actually trying. And that is when you're going to actually be able to wake up a narcissist. So that's the reason as to why you've heard about so many videos. People have said the super empath is the narcissist's worst nightmare because a super empath is going to mirror the narcissist. They are going to mirror every bit. It's the reason as to why sometimes people have been saying the super empath can sometimes become a narcissist. It is very, very possible, ladies and gentlemen. A super empath can become a narcissist. Do you know the reason why they can become a narcissist? Because they have mastered what the narcissist is doing. They have lived with those people for a very long period of time. They have seen them. They have mastered that art. They have mastered everything they are doing. And there's going to come a time when the super empath blows up, especially at that moment when they go supernova. That is when you're going to see them mirroring a narcissist. And that is when the narcissist is they are going to be on their feet because that energy you're mirroring back to them is going to be very intensive for them and they cannot handle this. So they're going to run away and they're going to be on their feet. So the narcissist, normally when you're mirroring back that energy to them, which I've usually done, most of the times I've continuous, because I've told you guys that after my awakening, I continue to meet out of these individuals. So most of the time when I used to meet them, they used to come around because I've told you guys these were demons. These were like a set of demons. So sometimes you would leave this one you'll find that same demon in another person. You go to another person, you find the same demon. So they were like stalking. You guys have heard about this thing of gang stalking. So they'll keep on stalking you everywhere you go. But whenever I met them after this period of awakening, I had that ability to mirror them, to mirror their energy, and I would show them who they really are. Because when they bring to you that false mask, you'll mirror that false mask back at them, and they will notice that, this person probably, they have figured me out, you know what I mean? They probably know who I am, and they're going to be on their feet. They're going to run very quickly. So they wake up, they do wake up, but their awakening is very intensive because their awakening is bringing them to that realization, but they are the problem. They are the narcissist, they are the demons, they are going to awaken to that problem that they have always been hiding. Because remember, these guys, they have been, over the years, hiding the truth of who they are. But now that they're awakening, they are coming into confrontation. It's like, for example, you're bringing a mirror in their face and telling them, listen, look, take a very closer look at your face and see who you are. So you're bringing a mirror in front of them and you're showing them who they are. So that is how a narcissist awakens. So when they awaken, it's very, very terrifying because now they understand the degree, what do they call it? The deals they have signed with the devil over the years. They are now realizing that they have actually made a mistake. They are falling into a very deep hole and they do not know how to get out of that hole. So they're going to run around in shame. They're going to try to hide. They're going to try to, they are going to feel very, very, very shameful about those things that they've been doing. And they're going to realize there has always been a problem. They just try to hide that problem under the blanket. But now this problem is coming out to the surface and they do not know how to deal with that. So you best believe, ladies and gentlemen, that when they awaken, those so-called narcissists is very intense. You know what I mean? And when I'm talking about narcissists, I'm also talking about different types of toxic people and individuals. They all do awaken, but they can only awaken in the face of a super empath. So it is only a super empath. I've told you guys, the reason I'm making this video is because I have awakened so many narcissists along my journey, especially post-awakening. So I've met them because they are, those guys are very big-headed. You know what I mean? Sometimes they will know that you're conscious, you're aware. You know what I mean? They will know that you know about all this whole thing and everything. But because of their big heads, and because they don't listen to themselves, they don't have an intuition in the first place. They will just keep on coming. And normally when they come around to you and sometimes they engage with you and these things like that, you are going to end up mirroring their energy back at them. You know what I mean? So they continuously, and a lot of them have continuously awakened over the years, these last years. Men are still awake, men are still waking up, but a majority of them, they are still sleeping. So the both sides, the empaths and the narcissist, we do both go through an awakening. The empath awakens to ascend, but the narcissist cannot ascend. Like I've told you guys, they continuously get stuck in that dimension because it is very, very difficult. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It is very difficult for a narcissist to get out of that dimension. They cannot ascend because they do not have a soul. A person who does not have a soul cannot ascend. There's no way you can ascend into the fifth state of consciousness when you don't have a soul. You need your soul to ascend. You know what I mean? But a person who is soulless, they are going to get stuck in that dimension forever, and they will never get an ascension because they do not know how to do that. That is the first thing. And secondly, they do not have a soul. So they may sometimes continuously go around, get help here and there. Somebody will help them. They will go for some session therapy. Some of them, they may not. Because there are some of them who are very stubborn. They may actually be dealing with very, very strong demons, and those demons cannot even allow them to see the problem that they do need to go for help as soon as they can. So very few of them may actually get into therapy. But the more we get a lot of them into therapy by actually telling them who they are, mirroring them, their energy of who they are, the more it's going to become, this world is going to become a better place, because at least now that problem is going to get somewhere close to solving. So guys, let me not think about this video in the comment section below. You know that I always love and appreciate your support. You can always let us know what you think and book a session with me if you want to. If you would like to donate or support to my channel, the links will be in the description section below. And until then, I'll catch you guys in my next one. Then I'm signing out. Love and blessings. Peace.